I was a great fan of hers. So I have this piece written by Leila Tayabji Padam Shri, a social worker, her friend, who writes, "So very sad to hear of Gita Mehta's death. Brilliant, beautiful, wacky, witty, always in stunning, iridescent saris. A wonderful writer and conversationalist, but also that rare commodity, a wonderful, perceptive listener." She recalls once in the early 1990s, together at a very glittering dinner party at the French embassy. She asked how I was, and I replied that I was a little discombobulated, having just come back from rural Bihar that morning. The contrasts between my two worlds were almost too much. The champagne we were drinking would support the entire family of the women I'd been working with for a month. In answer to her questions, I told her more of the tribal tussar spinners who lived in a state of perpetual bondage. Having taken on a loan of 500 rupees for a family funeral or wedding from the local money lender with interest rates of 40 to 50%, they then struggled to pay off the interest by working at spinning yarn for him 7 days a week, with no hope of ever getting paid. The phrase bonded labor had suddenly acquired meaning, and it was a life sentence. It was my second visit to the area, brought there by a young local activist, a follower of Gandhi and Vinoba Bhave. Her dream was to teach the women to weave the yarn they spun so they could earn as well as survive. "How much money would it cost to pay off their debts?" Geeta asked. I did the math. 100 women, x approximately rupees 500 each. "I'm writing another book at the moment. I'll give you the royalties when it's published. And you can pay off the horrible man," said Geeta. We resumed our meal and chat, and I thought no more of that moment of impulsive warmth. Months later, I got a letter from an American publisher. "I'm instructed by Miss Gita Mehta to pay you the sum of dash." We were flabbergasted at her generosity and her remembering that fleeting conversation so long ago. With the money from River Sutra, Dastakar was able to not only pay the women's debt and secure their freedom, but set up a weaving and natural dyes project, getting a young intern from NIFT to work with the women, teaching them how to weave lovely saris in subtle earthy tones. These became the rage in Delhi, seen and sought after everywhere. A sari that works equally well at a cremation or a cocktail party was one Delhi socialite's sincere but rather macabre compliment. How Geeta laughed when I told her this. Characteristically, even 30 years later, she would always ask about the women and how they were faring, and about Dastakar's current work. Geeta's unforgettable anyway, but every time I see River Sutra on my bookshelf, it reminds me all over again of that generous gesture made without fanfare and the love and thanks those women in Bhagalpur owe her. So that's Gita Mehta, the Indian American writer and documentary filmmaker. As a journalist and documentary filmmaker, she focused on covering war and conflict, including covering the Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971. And as an author, she has published around 5 books, which were translated into 21 languages. Her works focused on India and were intended to interpret the country for a large Western audience. And she died very recently, 16 September 2023. Very sad. She's a go-getter. Her interesting book, Snakes and Ladders, in 1997 was a collection of essays about India and life in the country written on the 50th anniversary of the country's independence. Her father, Biju Patnaik, was an Indian independence activist and a chief minister in post-independence Odisha, then known as Orissa. Her younger brother, Naveen Patnaik, has been serving as the chief minister of Odisha since 2000. She really wrote well, and it's really sad that I was saddened when I heard the news. May her soul rest in peace.